Hello and welcome back to Why This Film. This is a pre-episode heads up. So this episode was actually recorded at the beginning of 2018. I make reference to resurrecting my podcast as that was the original date it was meant to be back, before drama school got in the way. It is with Alex Doble, who has come on before. And we are recording it over Skype, so if it sounds a bit weird, that's why. I will give you the IMDb breakdown here, as we didn't actually do it in the episode. The last surviving child of the Russian royal family joins two con men to reunite with her grandmother, the Dowager Empress, while the undead Rasputin seeks her death. Hope you enjoy!
You watched it so many times before, and now you're gonna watch it again. But it's been so many years since you last saw it, and now you show it to your friends, and they're like, "What?
What am I watching?
Why
This?
Why this film?"
Today I'm joined again by the lovely Alex Doble.
Hello, it's me.
It is indeed. And I made him watch one of my movies, so I'm very excited to see if he enjoyed it. So I made him watch the 90s animated musical Anastasia, which is not Disney, which a lot of people think it is. It is in fact by Don Bluth, who was an ex-Disney animator, so I see the confusion.
I went in thinking this was Disney. I was utterly convinced and so confused when it wasn't.
Yeah, and I get it. There's a whole history of Don Bluth v Disney, and Don Bluth's heyday was the 80s, whereas Disney's wasn't. But then, of course, Little Mermaid happened in 89, and Disney came back in full force, and this was Don Bluth, end of the 90s, taking his hat off to Disney and being like, okay, I'm going to mimic your sort of style and your plot points and your ideas and your creative whole sort of shebang, and it ended up being an incredibly successful movie, and like everybody really loves it, and it's very well done. I really do enjoy it, but it is very much Don Bluth being like, this is my Disney film at the end of my career.
So what would I know him for? Because you like you said, I've not seen this movie before, and I think making me watch it is a bit of a fib. I was interested to see it because I do have memories of the movie being around from my childhood.
Yeah.
But would I have seen any of his other movies?
Yeah, almost definitely. The Land Before Time.
Nope.
The Secret of Nim.
Nope.
An American Tale.
Nope.
Five West. No. Thumbelina.
Oh yeah, with the singing frogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's a
That was
winner.
one of his.
Okay.
So he's got quite a big alumni. Pebble and the Penguin, Troll in Central Park. A lot of shit in there with the good. But he tried, bless him. He tried. Titan AE.
Oh,
and,
that one was pretty good.
Yeah, that was one of his.
I feel like people didn't like that, but it had a Jamiroquai
Yeah.
song in it, so it was great for me.
Amazing. I haven't actually seen that one. It's still on my to-watch list, so maybe we could do that.
I
at a later date.
think it's Atlantis in space, from what I can remember.
Oh, nice. That sounds amazing. That
I
sounds
might be
perfect.
wrong.
I'll be very disappointed now if it's not that. I will blame you. So, Anastasia it's a musical, and it's based on the completely false story of the fact that the Romanov princess, Anastasia, daughter of the Russian Tsar of the time, whilst the rest of her family were assassinated, she somehow escaped. And I was watching this film with Flo, and a very small minor thing happened, and Flo went, well, that's not historically accurate. I was like, Flo, Anastasia is buried in a hole with the rest of her family. So already, this film is not living up to history.
I think your standards are a little skewed on what is and is not acceptable right now.
So it is completely made up. Anastasia did die with the rest of them. There's a lovely... I watched this film with my mum, who's really big on history. So I got the sort of story of what actually happened alongside the fake story from the very first time I watched it. Partly because I was interested and I was asking questions, but my mum being my mum, she was like, so what they did was they lined them all up and shot them, but the women wore all of their jewellery underneath. So the bullets were stopped by the jewellery, so they lay on the floor pretending to be dead, but just to make sure, all of the guards went round and shot them all in the head. So they're all dead.
Oh, lovely.
Including Anastasia. And I was like, thanks, Mum.
See,
anyway,
I went in knowing...
There's a rumour.
I went in knowing pitifully little about the Russian Revolution. By pitifully little, I mean I don't even really know what or why the Russian Revolution is.
You will not learn it from this movie.
And, well, I was really excited because I saw, and I was like, what a fantastic story. Like, it's tragic, absolutely tragic. This princess is, or what she, archduchess or whatever, is losing her family. But what a magnificent tale of about the human spirit and resilience, and wow, and it's romantic and lovely. And then I checked on Wikipedia afterwards because I was curious, because I thought, you know what, Rasputin was probably not a like some sort of warlock. Yeah. So I was like, I wonder which parts are true, and yeah, I was I was really gutted to hear. I was just like, wow, she was shot in a basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
None of it is true. She was shot in a basement. Dmitri, the main love interest, was in fact one of the revolutionaries who stormed the palace. He was not on Anastasia's side. Rasputin was a monk that was really close with the royal family, and whilst he was a bit of a mystic and everyone thought he was a bit weird, he didn't sell his soul to the devil and start up communism. He did take 5 attempts to die, though. People kept trying to assassinate him and he wouldn't die. So that's really fun to read about.
Now that you word it as he wasn't an evil wizard who kickstarted communism, that is such a Western take. Because I was watching this and I was in the beginning. I think it's maybe after the first song. Oh, it might be before the first song. We're flying above the clouds. And we can see the top of that. Oh, I'm showing my ignorance here. What's the chapel in St. Petersburg?
Yeah.
The Russian-y onion-looking building that I'm going to be...
Colours.
Oh, goodness. It's not St. Basil. What's it called?
I can't help you.
Tell you what, while I'm talking about this, you can very quickly Google it and we'll just cut this part out and no one will know. So we're panning in, or tracking in across above the clouds, and we can see the tops of this building poking through, and there's this triumphant music playing, and I'm thinking, wow, yes, look at this glorious nation. And I guess in the back of my mind I'm thinking, look at this glorious nation, and at the helm is our patriarch, is the monarch, is the absolute head of the country, ordained by God, because of course, in the West, we love this idea of there being, some sort of ruler who is there because blood they are better than the rest of us.
Right, yeah.
And communism is evil and bad, even though I'm not entirely sure what it's about.
Yeah.
So of course that follows the evil man assassinating the royal family.
Yes. Yes, it's something. He literally sells his soul to the Christian devil, and he gets this sort of jar, if you will.
Yeah.
Glass tube filled with like scary green versions of the Cornish pixies from the Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah.
Fly around causing havoc, but death havoc instead of just havoc. And so he sends them to help them break into the palace and kill all of their family, but of course Anastasia escapes through a hole in the wall thanks to a young Dmitri, who's a kitchen boy, with her grandmama, and they get on a train, and it's actually really sad.
It is very sad.
There's a great little scene where they're escaping, and she's running after the train, and no one's helping this kid onto the train, but the grandma's on the train, and it's all like, don't let go! Grandma, please!
It is remarkably tense. That was the first thing that I really noted. I thought, wow, because in my head I still was thinking it was a Disney film. I was like, this is very tense for a Disney film.
Yeah. The tone is very dark already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also...
then...
Oh, sorry, carry on.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say... hold on, you might have to cut this part because I just tied my own tongue. The bat is not a part of this yet, is he?
No.
The kind of weirdo bat.
No, he's like around, but he's not there to inject the like necessary comic.
Oh, is he
relief.
even featured? I couldn't even remember when he first appeared as a character. Because now that I think back, I'm like, was he just around when Anastasia comes back? And he just happens to be next to the thing, which just so happens to be in the rafters.
He tries to save Rasputin. He, like, exists, I think. But he's not a major feature until later. Because, of course, Rasputin's trying to cling on to... that's Kirsten Dunst as a young Anastasia. Clinging onto her leg. And then the way the real Rasputin died in real life was eventually he got shot enough in the back and fell into an icy river and drowned. So Rasputin falls into the ice basically, and he does drown. But as a kid, I never got that he died. Like I never got that was him dying, because he didn't seem of this earth. So I didn't think he could, because then of course the next time we meet him, he's literally in purgatory.
Yes,
and he's like, I can't die because I sold my soul.
But he's so like animated, and he doesn't look any different until he starts taking off various limbs. Yeah. Because it was my second viewing when he mentions that he's in some sort of limbo, and I was like, oh, so now he's in between kind of this world and the next or whatever. And but yeah, the first viewing I was just like, oh, he's living on some sort of sphere under the lake.
Yeah. It's really bizarre and not very well laid out for children. But, I mean, I don't know what you thought. It's Christopher Lloyd playing Rasputin, and he's literally like this sort of green tinge to his skin, this like disgusting, lank, greasy black hair, and it's all very long, and he's very frightening, very bony. He literally like takes body parts off because he lives this half life. He's not put together properly, which is inspired, really. It's a great idea. He's just falling apart a lot, and like it's very humorous, but it is also very scary. He is really frightening as a villain.
Oh, see, I thought he was very goofy. He was kind of too...
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? As an adult, you're very much like, this is hilarious. This is very... Because he's so, like, effeminate, and he can also be, like... He's never truly threatening. He's always having too much fun to be truly threatening.
And there's this one moment where he says... it's before he sends her dreams that make her sleepwalk. And he mentions that he's going to do something kind of truly horrible, or I can't remember how he words it. But in that moment, he's threatening, but he's so consistently ineffectual. Besides that moment, everything he does just does not really do much.
Yeah,
so
it's almost everything around it that's frightening. Like the train crash that he sets up is scary. Like the way the bridge explodes, the little green creatures are quite frightening. When he does send her this sleepwalking dream, it's basically her family, which is really sad. Her family are in this pool, and they're like, come jump in, and obviously in reality she'd be throwing herself into the sea. They're like, come jump in, and then because it sort of breaks, the Alexander, the father, literally turns into like this devil creature, and is like, yes, jump! The fucking family of the Russian Tsars will come and get you. It is really horrible because it's out of nowhere, and the whole thing becomes like engulfed in flame, and like really everyone's eyes are glowing, and you're suddenly like, fuck, like this is horrible. But yeah, you're right. Rasputin himself is very goofy. He's got a great song.
Oh, I was waiting to get to the song. That was perhaps the best part of the movie for me.
Yes, yeah, I would agree. I mean, all of the songs are wonderful. I will definitely say that about this movie. The songs are great, and it's a reason it's so memorable, and why everyone thinks it's Disney. Because up until that point, Don Bluth movies didn't really have songs, and if they did, they were kind of shit. So this one... These songs are wonderful. I mean, Anastasia, this movie, has been made into a Broadway show now. It's on Broadway. Rasputin, interestingly, has been replaced by, like, a Russian officer.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
in kind of
so I don't-
reverence to the real life.
Yeah, the real
Figure, I
threat, as
guess.
opposed to, like... But seeing as he's such a good character, it's a shame, and obviously it means that his song isn't in the show.
Oh, I
So-
mean, I feel like you could just trade him out. It just just
Yeah.
change. Even if you just changed the name, that would do
Yeah.
the same kind of job. But that is a shame, because that is the one song I must confess to having found many of the other songs kind of forgettable.
That's fair.
And it's straight. I felt like, so, for several reasons, that this movie, it was almost as though there were like different departments working on different parts of the movie. Because this one song
Interesting.
is so like, it's so epic and big,
Yeah.
and it feels
It's a
so...
classic villain song.
Yes, and it's got like these wailing electric guitars in the background, and he has this chorus of Beatles, which is just fantastic. And that song feels like something out of, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a musical that it feels like it could come straight out of, but it felt like a very different musical to the forgive me, I don't know the title. It's the first song that the people in Moscow are singing. Oh no, St. Petersburg.
Yeah,
Sorry,
The Rumour in St. Petersburg.
that's the one. And that feels very much like a completely that could be in
Yeah.
Oliver, you know, whereas the
Yeah,
other
it's
one
very
could
true.
not.
It's interesting. So the songs you've got the opening number after the sort of prologue. The opening number is A Rumour in St. Petersburg, and it's a very ensemble piece of all the townsfolk, and you're meeting all these different characters. And
None of
John
whom come up
Cusack,
again,
like-
apart from
No, they're all just like talking. It's to meet Vladimir and Dmitri, who is voiced by John Cusack, and then this time round, I really noticed it going from like, "Hello, I'm John Cusack," to like, "And this is my singing voice." Like, totally different. I was like, "Oh no, that's not subtle." Same with Meg Ryan, her singing voice. But yeah, so we've got this big like sort of street number where all the people are like, "Consider yourselfing."
Yes.
Place. That's what it is. And they do that again in the sort of second part of the movie. They have another big street number of Paris Holds the Key to Your Heart, which is sung by Bernadette Peters, who is a Broadway legend and star. So,
Who was
she's
in
wonderful.
Beauty and the Beast, I think, was where I recognised her voice from. Was she in that?
The Disney?
Yes.
No.
No?
Oh, you're thinking of Angela Lansbury, who is the Grand Duchess.
Were they not both?
She-
Who was
she-
Was
no,
Angela
she-
Lansbury the
Angela
teapot?
Lansbury, yes, Angela Lansbury was the teapot, but Bernadette Peters, she was the original witch in Into the Woods. Annie, Get Your Gun.
No, this is all...
Annie, the original Annie.
This is not part of in my wheelhouse, I'm afraid. Musicals are not...
Oh, well, she's great. She's in a lot of musicals. So she plays Sophie, and she gets to sing this grand number with a lot of references, like Freud slipping on a banana skin. But as a
Yeah.
kid, it goes straight over your head.
Yeah, I saw a couple of things. There was, I think it was in the song about effectively learning to be royalty.
Yes.
And they're doing the family tree, and they mention her uncle Vanya, and I was just like, oh, that's a reference that I get.
Yeah. Loved his vodka. Anya? No. That's a great song as well. It's just a really sweet little montagey song of it's the Rocky montage of the movie. Which I'll get into a bit later, but it highlighted something a bit strange plot wise in that she's very willing to learn to pretend to be royalty, and then later on she overhears that she was pretending to be royalty and she's really pissy, and you're like, but you knew you were pretending, right?
Yeah.
That's why you agreed to have all those lessons. What? So that doesn't make any sense. But you've also got Journey to the Past is the big one that everybody knows. It's the I Wish song, which is it's a really nice song. It's the credits song. And then Once Upon a December is the one everyone knows as well. In the ballroom where all the portraits come to life.
Yeah.
Which is really, really pretty.
God,
yeah,
does Dimitri have another song? I feel...
No, I was just thinking that Dimitri doesn't, but Vlad does. He has that really sweet, in replacement of a Dimitri song, I reckon. They decided
when they're dancing.
do that one. Yeah, the Kelsey Grammer gets to sing.
Yeah.
That sweet song.
Although I got real mixed messages from that, because at the beginning he's just like, dance with the girl, clearly like, with a glint in his eye.
Yeah.
And then he's singing this song about, I just forgot romance. And then the second part of the song is, I shouldn't have let them dance. And it's like, no, you wanted that. That was one of the ingredients. Don't pretend like, oh no, I didn't realize that this intensely romantic situation would cause feelings to happen, because of course it would.
I love how, even 2 seconds ago, the two of them are, at each other's throats. They genuinely, can't stand each other. And then 2 seconds later, they're dancing and they're
but that...
I love you.
I know it's bad, but that was the part of the movie that really, got me. That, the romance side, because
Their
it's...
romance is really lovely. Dimitri was a big crush of mine as a kid growing up.
See, I thought he was intensely unattractive, but I think that in that it kind of gave me hope that maybe one day I could convince some poor girl that maybe she's a princess, and
excellent.
trick her onto an adventure with me. Yeah, exactly.
Trip to Paris. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the songs. Yeah. So it's nice. It's really cool. Rasputin's death really frightened me as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he just dies.
No, he crumbles. He oozes and melts into goo. And then his skeleton, crumbles into dust.
Yeah.
And then everything's, swept away with the wind. And you're there as a kid a bit oh, God. But she gets to save the day, which is nice.
Yeah, because all men are babies, which was fun.
Which was really nice, because you don't really, until recently, you didn't really get that in Disney movies. Regardless, Belle doesn't really do much at the end of Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. She doesn't really help anything out.
And I tell you what else I appreciated in that in the final battle. So I'm doing air quotes on the radio. But is that it's not chivalrous. It's not the two duel it out. It's it's not like Prince Charming has a sword and he's slaying a dragon. He just straight up runs and sucker punches Rasputin.
Yeah. It's really great. And then Rasputin doesn't waste any time literally throwing him into the river.
No. Yeah, because you think they normally play it up and take their time, but he's just I'm gonna I'm gonna throw you in the river. How's about that? And then he just does it, and it's wow, that was efficient.
Fuck. Yeah, he's got a plan and he's getting shit done, which is really great. And then so of course, I mean that's a wonderfully dramatic moment where she gets hold of the mason jar of demons and she's all "This is for my family," and starts crushing it and crunching it. It's really, really cool. Bartok, Hank Azaria is here as Bartok the Bat, which is often a very memorable character for a lot of people.
I don't know why.
What did you think? Did you not like him?
Oh, I mean, I liked him. He was funny. He was charming. The problem was he didn't do anything. No,
he's clearly there as comic relief, but the sort of dry wit of Anya and Dimitri's relationship is sort of funny enough in itself, and the goofy character of Rasputin is funny. But I mean, Bartok has so many good lines. You can see why, they kept him in. I think Hank Azaria probably improvised a lot. But,
yeah. Just based on my not my understanding, based on the perception I've had of the film over the last... When did it come out? 20 years ago?
oh God,
so over the last 20 years. seeing like the Bat is such Bartok is such a like noted character. He appears on all the promotional stuff. I feel like he
Yeah.
seems to be like if you see anything about Anastasia, there seems to be something about him. So I assumed going into it, I thought, oh, he's like the animal companion, probably to
Oh,
Anastasia,
I see. No, that's the mute dog.
who also does nothing apart from runs into a
Absolutely
maze
nothing.
once.
Yeah, he's a bit. Yeah, he's a funny one, isn't he? He just sort of gets in the way. It's cute though.
Yeah.
He's the sort of sign at the beginning to send her to St. Petersburg, and then obviously the reason at the end that she gets to fight Rasputin. So in that way, he sort of makes a point of existing, but otherwise, yeah. Nope, he's just there to make cuddly toys out of.
It was kind of fun and very panto, actually, at the beginning, where she's like, send me a sign, and then the dog
Yeah.
pops up out of the snow and grabs a scarf, and she's like, no, I don't have time for this. It's one of those, like, who's behind you kind of
I'm
fun.
waiting for a sign.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I think Flo even shouted at the screen. She was like, "You asked for a sign, bitch."
Yeah. You're just like, please see it. Don't go to wherever you're going to work, the fishmonger or whatever it is.
Yeah. So yeah, the Bat is funny. The voice acting in general. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Meg Ryan, but she really does a great job as Anastasia. She makes her really likable.
She does, but she also, it felt weirdly, I felt like her character felt anachronistic, just because she felt like some
Yeah.
modern American girl.
Mm-hmm.
And yet
Yeah,
she
it's
was
so
in this
true.
situation that was a century ago.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true, and perhaps that's another reason why people really are on board with it, because it does have a very contemporary feel to it, even though it's set in ancient Russia.
I'm not sure ancient's a fair word for it.
Ye olde Russia.
There we go.
Revolutionary Russia. Yeah, it does have this sort of feel to it that's quite modern. So did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it to people?
I did. I don't know. Recommend it. That's. I mean, I'm not sure there will ever be a night where I'm in with my mates and I think, you know what? We should watch Anastasia. I'm glad I saw it, and it went quickly, which I think is often a sign of a good fun film. It never felt like it was dragging.
No,
I watched
it's
it.
very well written.
Yeah, I watched it a couple
well-paced.
times, and the second time just flew by. So I thought, okay, this is good. There's, it's really got a good pace. Oh, I don't know. It's worth watching. It's worth
Yeah.
watching once. I don't know if it's one of my favorites. I've definitely since watched Rasputin's song on YouTube a bunch of times
Yeah.
because I'm just like, yes, this is the perfect singing in the shower and feeling like an evil wizard
Literally.
kind of show tune.
It's a really great show tune. It just builds so well, and it's so much fun to sing along to, and Christopher Lloyd is doing a great job.
Actually, that I don't know why that reminded me of. I guess it's because I mentioned how that song feels like it's out of a different movie. Another thing that made me feel like this was a bunch of different pieces all sewn together was it started at the very beginning. There seemed to be characters who didn't match the animation style of the rest
I
of
know
them.
what you mean.
The
Yeah.
woman who runs the orphanage looks straight
Yeah.
up Sword in the Stone. And she stood
she
next
really
to
does.
Anastasia, who comparatively looks fairly realistic.
90s Disney, yeah.
Yeah, she
It's
looks
so
like
true.
Madam
It's so
Mim.
true.
And
Yeah.
then there's this young
And all
woman
the,
who
people in
doesn't.
Russia look like old school animation, and then all the main characters are sort of people have taken a lot more time with them and made them a lot more attractive, made them more human. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's that thing where it's like on Scooby-Doo where they have a wall of doors and the one that they're going to go through is animated and all the others are painted backdrop. It's like that. I would agree with that. It's funny, and it jumps so many different locations as well. And initially, I was a bit confused as to where she was, because we obviously start in St. Petersburg, and then we go to this orphanage, which must be on the like outskirts, because she takes a good long time in that song to get from the signposts to St. Petersburg.
She does, but also it's just a walk away. So this idea of it being like this magical city that's far away kind of
Too far.
did not. You'd think, because they show a clip during that song of some people in like a horse-drawn carriage, and I was sat there thinking, oh, she's going to get a ride because it's far away, and they just like we see that clip and then it cuts back to her and it's never referenced again.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's this strange like, oh, okay, I guess she's just walking to St. Petersburg then.
Yeah. Literally, she just walks to St. Petersburg from Russia.
The sticks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, just head up to... I live in Dorset. I'm just going to walk to London.
Yeah. Literally, I mean, probably in those days. So the whole plot point that we forgot to mention is that she obviously doesn't know that she's the Princess Anastasia, and they're trying to get the money. They're trying to dupe the Grand Duchess out of her money.
10,000 rubles.
Rubles by trying to give her an Anastasia, because I think that was a real thing. Obviously, a woman came forward to claiming that she was Anastasia in real life, but of course, everyone was like, "No, you're not. Go away." Yeah, I don't know much about that aspect of the story, to be honest. The actual Anastasia part of it, I need to do some research on that, but it is funny seeing the that's a very famous clip in the auditions with Vlad and Dmitri.
That was good, yeah.
Grandmama, it's me, Anastasia. And yeah,
I must say it gave me some really, really gross, unpleasant feelings later on where they're reunited, and it made me feel like water wanted to come out of my face, and it was just, I don't know what was wrong with me. It just caught me off guard. But yeah, when they find the music box and they're together in the bedroom or whatever, I was just it's just like, oh,
it's really like, it gives me chills whenever, like, because she comes in and she's like, "You're a very good actress. You do look like her, but I'm sick of it." And then she turns to go, and you're all like, "Oh fuck, here we go." And then Anastasia goes, "Peppermint." She's like, "For my hands."
yeah,
Spilt some on the rug, and you're like, "Oh."
yeah.
And like she turns back and she sits down. Again, another like a random plot point though is that she sees the jewelry box because the grandmother gives her a jewelry box at the very beginning of the movie, and she has the necklace, which is the key to open it. And Dmitri obviously has the jewelry box, which is how he was going to convince the Duchess that he had the real Anastasia. And it falls out of his bag halfway through the movie when they're on the boat. And Anastasia picks it up and someone goes, "Oh, it's a very nice jewelry box, isn't it?" And she goes, "Jewelry box? Is that what it is? I don't know. I don't know." But then it's never spoken of again. And then half an hour later in the climax, she pulls out the music box and she goes, "Oh, it's my music box. Look, I've got the key to that." And you're like, why didn't you remember it half an hour ago? You literally saw it, but you forgot about it. It's just really, really strange. It's like, oh, now you remember. Maybe the peppermint kickstarted something in her brain, I don't know.
Yeah, the second time, again, a lot of this hit for me the second time I watched it through. And that was when I kind of had that moment of, oh, of course, like, smell is so closely linked to memory, and maybe there was something there that kind of triggered this thought. Because it's an odd thing to, like, use as an entry point into, oh, no, I really am her. Is this smell of peppermint, because it's not visual, it doesn't translate well into film, so maybe that was the intention, was to kind of very subtly use it, because in real life that would be a potential trigger for old memories. Yeah, that was fun. I got yeah, but of course before that, sorry, Dmitri is trying to convince the dowager that this Anastasia is the real Anastasia at the ballet. And
Yes.
that was a moment that really, really struck me. Oh, there's a pun there. When Anastasia slaps Dmitri,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden she's scandalized that she's going to pretend to be someone she doesn't know she is.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's kind of begging her to listen to him, and she turns around and just smacks him. And
Yeah.
I was really taken aback, and then I was really impressed, and then I was more taken aback because I was just like, wow, that's really like gutsy for a film where typically it would be like
Yeah.
you would not have the girl hitting the man, you know?
Yeah, I don't think that happens a lot. You know, you have the idea of this sassy, slappy lady, and of course we have seen it before in some movies. But yeah, and it's what sets it apart from Disney, and it's what makes her such a good sort of character. Because you'd believe it as well. She grew up in a fucking orphanage. You know, she's probably a bit rough now. But then she's also got all of that training from when she was a lot younger. That's now been, yeah, she absolutely wallops him. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, she does it earlier on too. I forgot she
Yeah, I
punches
was
him in the
just gonna say
face on the
that. And she's
train.
like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's you. Never mind then.
Yeah.
It's great.
Which is fun. And I love that back and forth. I think that's part of the reason why I really enjoyed their relationship, even though it was
Yes.
kind of, you know, to begin with, it's very much like, oh, we dislike each other, brackets, we're madly in love.
Yeah.
But it just that back and forth is so
It's clever and it's
wonderful because
cute.
they're very much kind of on equal footing, even though
Yeah.
we know he's gone into this trying to manipulate this girl. She absolutely kind of holds her own.
Yeah,
with him.
yeah, it's so enjoyable to watch, and obviously we also get to see it through sort of Kelsey Grammer's eyes as well, who literally keeps like a shots fired notebook.
Yeah, where she vastly outperforms him.
It's really funny. So yeah, their relationship is so sweet, and like, you know, they elope. We don't have a big posh wedding. They're wearing their like tattered sort of broken outfits from the climax of the fight, and they're just on a fucking boat, and it like their kiss is really well animated. It's a really weird thing to
I
point
feel
out,
like you've
but
watched that scene maybe too many times.
it's so sweet with the build up to it, and they're like, oh, it's a perfect ending. No, it's a perfect beginning. And like then he like lifts her up and swirls around, and like the music's all like, it's really sweet. It's really, really great. It makes me really happy.
God, people in love. That's so gross. Ugh, hate it.
Well, you know, we also get to have the dog be all like squeamish about it, so.
Oh yeah,
How does
but
all
then
make
of course
sense?
the bat also finds himself a lovely French lady bat.
It's so weird. So Bartok gets like clocked out at this point. He literally says like, "You're on your own. This can only end in tears," and flies away. And we re-meet him at the end, just dancing to himself on this podium, and this literal like bright pink bat with eyelashes.
I mean, how else would you know that
Hello,
it's a lady?
I am a lady bat. Comes down and like just makes out with him. Like doesn't even give him a chance. It's just like, hello. It's really, really weird because no one needed Bartok to get a girlfriend, and they did do a sequel with
Oh,
him. And I don't know
no,
if she's in
they
it.
didn't.
Yeah. Yes, of course they did.
Although I'm groaning. I was sat down and this was an actual forcing me to watch a movie. I was sat down and forced to watch The Lion King 1.5 maybe a month ago. Well, it was really good. I don't know if you've
Is
seen
that the
it.
one from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view?
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
it's
nice.
like the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead to the Lion King's Hamlet. It was
yeah.
very
That's
like
really
self-aware. It was just kind of fun.
Is that the
So
one
maybe
with
the
the
Bartok
Digitanas
movie's
song?
good.
Maybe it is, especially if they've still got Hank Azaria on board. Like, I haven't actually seen. Maybe I should watch it and then let you know as a little addition to this one. But no, I never actually brought myself round to watching it for fear of it being absolutely terrible, of course. Because
Yeah.
often, even the animation doesn't, the budget won't be as big, and, I don't trust it, to be honest. But, he gets himself a little girlfriend at the end there, which is what we all were hoping for, I guess.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I honestly, watching it, he's funny. He's absolutely funny. There are lots of great little quips, especially when he's like, "How about less of the killing and more of the dancing?" And just this very
He's very
strange,
evil.
yeah,
Evil sidekick.
And that he seems to have zero motivations to do anything. Like he's just there. And maybe he's and I guess he's likable because he seems to just put up with Rasputin because he likes him, and that's nice.
Yeah.
He's like that friend in the Truman Show, only I guess not being paid. But yeah, nothing about him made me think this is a character who should be iconic, who should spawn a spin-off sequel, who should be on the posters, because he just
literally
didn't do a lot.
It's the equivalent of in Pocahontas, Ratcliffe, the villain.
No, I've already forgotten him. He's clearly that memorable.
But there's the big villain, the big scary villain of Ratcliffe, and then he's got this little sidekick, who I don't even know what his name is, but the really weedy one, that trims hedges. He's literally the Bartok of that movie. And it would be like doing a movie of him. You'd be like, no one is going to watch this. He had some funny lines.
I guess.
But again, he didn't serve any purpose.
Was this around the same time as Mulan?
Yeah, Pocahontas was 94, 95, and Mulan was 97, 98.
So, because I know there's a sequel to Mulan. Was the sequel to Mulan,
Yes.
did that have the... It was Eddie Murphy, wasn't it? The...
Yes, it was Eddie Murphy,
Dragon.
pre-Donkey as the dragon.
Was
I don't know if he rejoined for the sequel. That's a good question, because I know that Robin Williams never did another Aladdin.
No, which is... I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not a necessary thing. A lot of these things, I think it's unnecessary sequels that make me anxious. I hear Mean Girls 2 is awful.
Oh, God, of course it is. It stories that don't need to be told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of Disney suffer with that. There's a Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, which is just hilariously bad.
Hang on, what more is there to say? I guess that's what...
Quasimodo gets a girlfriend, obviously. Because that's what was missing from that first movie. Ignore the whole point of the movie and get him a girlfriend.
Oh dear.
Right?
Maybe I will watch that. That sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth a watch. Pocahontas 2 sort of made sense because her story did continue. She goes over to London. So that's good. But yeah, at least it was a weird spin-off sequel as opposed to Anastasia 2. Here are Anya and Dimitri's kids. Doing stupid shit.
Oh no, they've executed Anastasia and Dimitri, but luckily their son got knocked out next to the train.
Literally, it would be that. So I guess it's a blessing in disguise that it's about the bat instead of that. So yeah.
I must say, I don't know if this is maybe revealing a little too much of the behind the scenes, but I did watch Wind in the Willows in the build-up to this, because that was one of the films that I brought to the table. I don't think we could have picked much that... Well, I mean, we could have picked some Lars von Trier stuff, but tonally very different. This was a very comparatively scary film, which I was not expecting. Coming from Toad of Toad Hall and being ready for a nice Disney princess movie.
And watching Christopher Lloyd ooze and
yeah,
crumble.
and his skeleton spazzing out as it falls apart.
Yeah,
and
literally.
ugh.
It's really frightening. And his little limbo place is really scary. He puts his fingernail down the like mason jar of demons at one point.
Yeah, and it scrapes it, and it's like, I'm upset the Beatles didn't get more screen time.
Yeah, they were great.
They were my favorite characters, I think, ever in any movie.
Yeah, they're cute, and like they were really well animated, and they all had their little personalities and stuff. So it was really well thought out. Obviously, whoever got given the job of doing Rasputin came to work and thoroughly enjoyed themselves every day. I think really poured everything they had into that. Yeah, it's solid.
I kind of came in mainly excited to hear how you felt about it, because this is much more a film of your childhood than it is of mine.
Yeah, and like I usually am so much more like ridiculously over the top excited, but I am very hungover, so that's why it's a bit more understated. Because usually I'm like, everyone go and see this movie right now.
And now you're just like, everybody sit down and maybe be quiet for a while.
Yeah. Everyone just turn the lights off and leave me alone. No, I adore this movie. I think it's wonderful. It's the type of movie that I just stick on in the background a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I listen to the soundtrack like all the time. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to sing along to. I think I follow a lot of like sort of cosplayers on Instagram, and a lot of them do the dresses from this movie, because there are so many to choose from, and they're all so beautiful and well designed.
There are a lot of fun outfits.
Yeah. Sign of a good movie when your princess gets to change her dress a lot. Looking at you, Phantom Menace. But yeah. No, it's wonderful. It's proper childhood as well, because a lot of people know it. Which is surprising, because most of us were brought up on a diet of Disney, and this obviously wasn't Disney. Mm-hmm. So, which I think is why everyone's really confused that it's not Disney. And technically, if you want to be like pernickety, now that Disney owned Fox, 20th Century Fox, she is technically under the umbrella of being a Disney princess in the same way that Leia is. Have
they kind of embraced her into that kind of franchise of princesses?
Not at all. And they won't, because she's not a Disney princess, and I will personally riot if they try and do that, because it's not on. Give Don Bluth his dues, for goodness sake. Amazing! So, right. We now move on to the part of the podcast where we have to come up with some drinking game rules. Every time Rasputin has difficulty with a body part, so if something falls off, if something like switches round the wrong way, if something like when his head drops down into his
That was so good.
Disgusting. So to get through the sort of body horror aspect of that, take a drink. Whenever they say home, it's a big theme. And I think they do say that word a lot. Like, Anastasia definitely will say that word a lot, and it comes up in a lot of the songs as well. So I think that's a good, consistent sort of thing. And going on from what we literally just said, whenever Anastasia's outfit changes, and this includes, she wears the sort of, like, blue dress to go to the opera, to the ballet, with the like sparkly back and the opera gloves, and then later on she takes the gloves off and has removed the like sparkly bit. That counts as an outfit change. So we're going all out here. Same as when she puts on her coronation gown and then it gets all tattered up. That's technically a change of outfit. So yeah, I think those are some good ones. What have you got?
I feel a little bad now, because maybe we should be drinking water this time to help your condition. I scribbled down, but the first two I wrote down didn't really work after the first number. The first thing I wrote down was every time a character appears in a different animation style, but then there weren't. I was like, I'm not drunk enough. This is not for me. Yeah. Same with the second one, which was, I think, only in the first number, was where there are lines of songs that you expect to rhyme and then they don't. But that was just, again, the one number, so not nearly drunk enough. So picked out a few. Every time someone uses a Russian phrase, it's usually Das Vidanya,
That's
that they
the
say,
downer.
because you know that's cool. That's kind of badass.
Yeah.
But then I was like, again, we need more. So bring in the word rubles. That counts. Bring in
Yes.
French phrases because that one song
Ooh la
exists.
la.
Exactly. Can use some of those. Every time, I really loved how in the most terrifying moments, like on the train where they're about to, the engine's about to explode, and then the bridge explodes, and everything's exploding. Anastasia's just super cool, and she just says
Yeah.
spunky things like,
This is our stop.
yeah, right? And
You
I'm
had to
thinking,
jump on a
no, I'd
moving
be
train.
screaming and
Yeah.
possibly passing out. So every time in the face of certain gory death, Anastasia
Yeah.
just says something super cool and spunky. Take a drink.
Yeah.
Also, every time that they tease a kiss, because I know that I was
Ooh,
in,
yeah.
I was sat just screaming internally, just like, this is adorable, and then something would happen. Even at the very end,
Yeah.
I can't remember who they get separated by, but even towards the very end, there's like a
Mm-hmm.
faux kiss, even when they've admitted their feelings.
Yeah.
It's still teased, and that was, just to take the edge off
Sweet.
other people being in love. Take a drink. And finally, this was, I don't know if a problem for everybody else, but I could not unhear the voice actors. Certain lines, I would just be like drawn right out of the film. They did a really good job,
really?
but it felt so, I don't know, there was something about it that I thought I could hear John Cusack,
Yeah.
or Kelsey Grammer.
It's the trouble when you get really famous people. This is why Disney has them more. And I mean, they started off as they were meant to go on with Disney, in that he didn't want Snow White to work anywhere else. He wanted her to just be. So he literally put it in her contract that she wasn't allowed to work again in that industry because he wanted it to be so unique.
I guess it's because a bunch of these people are screen actors primarily.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe what threw me, because I'm listening to The Dowager and I'm just like, that's Murder, She Wrote. And
Oh no, Angela Lansbury is a voice actress to me. She's been in a lot of animations, so that was. But it's always so clearly Angela Lansbury,
yeah, and I feel like there were times where she was kind of being a bit Russian, and then other times where she was just not being
she was
Russian.
just being Angela Lansbury.
But she was wonderful. So yeah, okay, maybe that one's just for me. Every time I'm getting drawn out, just take a drink to forget about it.
That's fair. Those are really good. I think you would get, definitely. And of course, there's always, during a musical number, get up and dance. It's a nice excuse to do a bit of a waltz a couple of times, and yeah, it should be good. I watched a lot of animation as a kid, and I try to rewatch a lot of them as an adult, and a lot of them don't hold up. A lot of them are dire, but this one keeps hitting the spot. It's just so enjoyable and so well put together, and it's, it's a romp. It's a fun evening in. It holds up. It holds up from my childhood.
I think that's fair. You can, that counts, because you've got some nostalgia in there, which kind of adds to the pleasure.
And nostalgia doesn't always make things okay. Like, Fern Gully is a piece of trash. And, even though I watched it a lot as a kid, that nostalgia only takes me so far, and the movie has to take you the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't. Tim Curry does for a bit, but then the plot comes back, and you're like, oh no, save the rainforests, people. Again. But Anastasia is just, it's so beautifully animated, and they were really proud of themselves because they were doing all that new stuff that you see in Beauty and the Beast, where they're starting to use CGI, and they're all like, oh look at the CGI. So they're all very excited about that, and that's sweet, and they used it to the best of their ability at the time, and I think the songs are so nice. Oh, sorry. I'm so hungover. Yeah.
Well, on that exciting note.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching the movie.
My pleasure. Thank you for introducing me to a fun new movie.
You're welcome. Anytime. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was lovely having you again.
My pleasure.
We watched
The film and we talked about it, but now it's time to say goodbye. We'll be back again with another movie that makes you wanna ask why.
Why?
Thank you so much for getting this far on this episode with my terribly unprofessional hangover. I sound absolutely dire. As a treat for making it to the end of the episode, here is a clip of me singing one of the songs from Anastasia. I do love this movie so much. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Why This Film. You can find us on Instagram at Why This Film. We're on Facebook at Why This Film Podcast. And you can email into us at whythisfilmpodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time on Why This Film. Bye!